Hey, this is your host V from Creative Block. I will be representing Creative Block at Lightbox Expo in Pasadena, October 24th to 26th at table 505. Come say hi and grab some free merch. On to the episode. Hey, welcome to Creative Block. We're your hosts, V.
And Sean, aka Lord Spew. We interview people in the creative industries about their life, work, and hobbies while we doodle jam.
We ask people on our social medias if they have specific topics they wanted us to discuss, as well as some drawing prompts. By the way, don't forget to hit subscribe, comment, and like, our videos. It helps reach more people and will help us just kind of keep making this podcast for as long as we can. Another great way you can support us is subscribing to our Patreon. Link in the description below.
Today, we have with us a very special guest. We have Jayme Lemperle. Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
What's up, dude? What's up?
I wasn't sure if I was supposed to say anything.
No, you're allowed to speak now.
Hello,
Before you
hello.
weren't, and now you are.
It's your time to shine now.
Well, thanks for having me.
Jayme's coming to us live wearing a giant fly hat. It's like giant, like fly eyes. We'll draw it so that you guys can see what we're seeing. But I've never seen such a sight before. First guest to have a giant bug costume while we're recording.
What's up, guys?
What's up? I first saw your art because I was watching the music video of I Spy by Kyle, and I was like, this music video is so fun. And then I saw your name on it, and so I found you on social medias, and that's how I started following you.
Oh, well, I didn't know that was how you found me. That's so funny.
Yeah. It's just like, it's so cool to see like the whole, like your vision, like the way you animate, your color choices and like your designs. It's all very like, just, I don't know, very fun. And so I've always wondered, just, yeah, how did you start doing music videos?
Well, I used to work at like a clothing brand, and when I left it, I was trying to like figure out what I wanted to do because my other friend Evan Borgia, he worked with Sean at ADHD, and when I first moved here with him, they were working together, and I didn't know that like you can just do animation as a job. So when I quit working there, me and Evan, I just like reached out to like a friend who rapped, and I was like, "Can I do a music video for you?" And then that was like the first like animation project that I actually did.
Oh, so you like actually reached out to someone and you were like, I can do this for free?
Yeah, well, I was kind of just like,
end, though.
Yeah, but I was like, I was like, hey, I really want to do like a music video. I kind of just said it like if I already had done them before. So then I just sat down and learned with Evan.
Damn, that's crazy.
But the first thing I animated was actually at your house, Sean.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I did like a little like a little cat wagging his tail. That was like the very first thing I animated.
I was there for the birth of your animator mind.
Yeah, I was like so blown away, and it was just like 3 frames. I was like, this is incredible.
Well, I also wanted to ask, is that the work for the previous company, is that NDA covered? Like, are you not allowed to talk about that?
Oh, no, I'm good. I can talk about it.
Because I do think that is A, a crazy story, and B, if you're okay talking about it, I do think it's a hell of a way to like start a career.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't mind talking about it at all. But yeah, no, I did like the characters for RIPNDIP, like the cat and the alien.
Yeah, for our audience, if you've ever seen one of those shirts where there's like a little cat inside a pocket that's giving the middle finger, or the alien for the I guess it's the skatewear, kind of like skate clothing company.
Yeah, they're like I mean, they've like kind of they're like still
Branched
in
out from
skate, but they're more like
Yeah.
I don't know, like some other thing.
But you were their like sole designer for a while, right?
Yeah, but when it started, like when I jumped on, they were doing like these skate videos called Weekendage, and then originally I was just making like graphics based off of like things in the skate videos, but then I would just kept pushing the cat. I was like, oh, we should be like cats because I always drew cats for some weird reason in school. exactly. Yeah. Then it just like blew up on Reddit that like the middle finger pocket.
Wait, so you designed that cat?
Yeah, I'll draw it right now.
What? That's
And I mean, it
fucking
was everywhere.
crazy. Yeah, I
That
remember
Yeah.
cat
that.
was
That was
everywhere.
everywhere. Like for anybody who's like watching on YouTube, I've kind of plopped the cat onto the page real fast on the magma. But yeah, it's the little cat in the pocket giving the middle finger. That's so crazy. It was everywhere. Yeah, I remember
Oh
everybody
yeah,
was wearing
no,
that shirt. Yeah.
it was literally
So
everywhere. It's like,
yeah, yeah. For our viewers, every once in a while, we like to tell a tale that is a little bit of either a cautionary tale or a way that sometimes working with clients can go a little bit awry. So what was the drama that unfolded with this with this company? Because I remember, I think while it was happening, talking to you.
well, I can't technically I'm not allowed to talk bad about the owner, so that was like in the NDA.
Hmm.
So you just have to say it nicely.
Yeah, yeah. It's just, don't work with people who you think are your friends, I guess, like is like a like an important lesson because you kind of overlook a lot of flaws in their character,
Oh wow. Yeah, yeah.
especially when it starts to get bigger, because then everyone wants to be like the this is mine.
Yeah. What kind of a contract did you have with them when you were working with them? Was it just like did you get
None.
paid or not? Oh yeah, well,
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I mean, I started doing working with them. I think I was like either 18 or 19 years old.
oh wow.
And, just like one day, well, it started doing good when they were doing the skate videos. So it was like growing. And then the owner had reached out and was like,
Mhm.
can you move to California? And I was living in New York at the time.
Mhm.
So I was like, of course, because it was the winter time. And then one day it just exploded. Like someone had posted on Reddit and it like got really big that day. And then just the orders went like, I don't even remember the amount, but it was like, he called the printer and was like, we have to print
Yeah.
like as many shirts as we physically
Holy
can.
shit.
So
What?
so it kind of just like like literally like blew up like overnight. And then just like the trajectory of it all at once was pretty insane because then I think like I mean I'm not sure about the exact timeline, but I think it was like a month or two later, Skrillex wore like a shirt on the cover of Rolling Stone, and then that was like another explosion into. But the
No
alien,
way.
That's crazy.
That is
so
crazy.
yeah, so everything was kind of like happening at the same time, and just like I also just think that everyone wanted to be like taking the credit for it, but it wasn't. It was a lot of luck that it just got so popular so
Yeah.
fast. But
But
Hmm.
you ran into a situation where
yeah,
where all these people around the country were wearing your art that was
yeah,
your idea,
the world.
and so what happened? Was the disagreement over sort of like, can I get like like a partnership in the company? Like what
It,
was the
yeah, I mean
disagreement?
it was mainly over like yeah, just having some sort of like percentage in or
Yeah.
stake. But ultimately it came down to really just like I was turning 25 and I was like, I don't want to keep doing cats and aliens like my whole life. And I wanted it, and then also because I had kind of started animating because I was running the Instagram account
Hmm.
alongside the owner and doing a lot of animations. I was starting to learn and I was having fun with it, so my creativity was kind of pushing to other facets, and I didn't want to just work in clothing because I don't know, like the idea of just having art to sell is like a struggle when you're an artist,
Hmm.
and I just wanted to like make animations at that point. So that's when I like left, and then I had went to Finland for a couple of months, and then I came back and then worked on the music video with Evan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so then I just started to really like doing animation, and then that video did really well. Like it has like a pretty big cult following because he's with it's for Wiki, like three stories
Hmm.
is the music video,
Hmm.
and that's like the main music video that like people constantly like will message and be like, I love that video, I watch that one all the time. And I
Is
think
that
that
wild?
one,
Because that was your first. That was your first one. Is that wild to have people still like hitting you up?
yeah, but I even still watch it now, and it's like not embarrassing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to like other things that I've done the first time. I think just because it was like really fun learning how to do it, and there's just so many things that you learn as you're going that you start to like create these weird rules for yourself that you think like, oh, like animation should be this way. And when I was starting, I didn't have any of that because I was just like, okay,
Yeah.
it's moving,
Mm-hmm.
and that's good enough. But as you go along, you kind of start to be like, oh, like it has to all like flow this way, or you have to animate everything on like twos or threes. And at that time I was like somewhere on one, somewhere like on
Yeah, yeah,
fours,
yeah.
like eight. Like I don't know, like some
Just
just like
fighting for your life.
tween wiggling across the screen. So I don't know, like
What was learning like for you? Because it seems like learning for you was just
Mm-hmm.
100% completely hands-on in the moment. Like you have to get this thing done, and you're
oh yeah,
learning while you're
because
doing it. Like, did you have any learning outside of that, or was that
well,
it?
I mean, I'm always like reading and kind of just like trying to, if I come across like a problem in a project, it's like I'm learning as I go.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Because the second project I did after Wiki was like pretty shortly after was that Gucci Mane video.
Hmm.
And I had to do that in 8 days. And
What?
yeah, it was,
Dude, his turnarounds were always
I
crazy.
know. And I had like our other friend Frank help on it. And oh my God, man, like I feel so bad because I just didn't know better. So I'm just like, oh, like we have to get this done. Like it'll get done. And also Jackie was on it as well. And I just like I had
Yeah.
to get whoever I could, and it was just like just do this shot. And then I was like up like I think I slept like 2 or 3 hours a night for like 8 days, and then they ended up bringing the video to Titmouse to like clean up. Thank God, because I don't know what I don't know what it would have looked like if they didn't help. But yeah, that was like the shortest amount of time that I think I ever had. But all those like music videos, the turnarounds are pretty unrealistic. But you kind of have to be like ignorant and just say yes to get them done. But
So is it like they have a song that's being released in 8 days, and that's why, or is it just a completely arbitrary turnaround?
well, that one was because he was getting out of jail, and they just like were like, we have to get this out like the day he's out so we can release it. And they put out like three other music videos like back to back.
Oh, so they're trying to build like some kind of momentum.
Yeah, something, but it was pretty hard. And it's tough because it's like, you're working on it, and then as you're working on other shots, you want to go back so bad to fix them, but when the pipeline is just like
Yeah.
right in your face, you have to just be okay with like just turning in whatever. And it sucks because then it's like your name's on it, and that's kind of why like working
And
on,
it's like one of the bigger artists that you'd ever worked with,
yeah, for
and your name is
sure.
attached to it,
but
and it's gonna come out. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I
I
think at
mean,
least like their fan base is like they don't know any much like but the majority doesn't really know much about animation, so it's like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it was cool. And even though it's like kind of really whatever animated, it has charm.
I agree.
There's a lot of charm in things not being perfect, and I think that that's something that I'm always trying to remember when I do stuff, that not to be such a perfectionist, because you could work on something forever.
Oh, would you be down to when we mention a music video, just so people can maybe go watch it if they're curious? Would you be down to write the artists' names? I think we've had Wiki,
Yeah,
and we've
yeah,
had Gucci Mane. If you're down to write the name of the song too, I think that
yeah.
would be great.
Everyone should listen to Wiki.
And they're
He's
all
really,
on Jamie's website, by the way. That's in like that's gonna be in the link in the description of the episode. But yeah, like these music videos I think are just so great because you can tell like it's like you watch them and there's a person who drew these drawings. It feels like there's like artistry,
Yeah.
and it's just so charming and has like such a distinct voice that is, I don't know, I think that's why I watched the I Spy video so many times, because it's just like so, it's both really cute but also like it has like a lot of fun little
yeah,
moments in
because
it.
they literally when I worked on like I Spy, that was like the third music video I did.
Yeah.
And they had zero direction, and the deadline was a little bit more lax in comparison to the last one because the song was with Lil Yachty and it hadn't really blown up yet. But while I was working on it, then all of a sudden it blew up. And then there was a little bit of a rush to put it out. But yeah, they just let me do anything. So I just felt like, okay, like since I get to kind of just make this video, I just kind of listened to it a bunch of times until I kind of started to create what I felt that the sound looked like. And I didn't want to go like completely digital with it. So all the backgrounds were like hand painted and airbrushed. And
that's what it was. Cause I was like, man, it looks so good. Like it feels so tactile, that video.
You know what? I was trying to figure out a way to describe it. I think especially with that All My Children video, because you had such a tight turnaround, there's parts of it that look a little bit more primitive, and it's like he's saying all my children, and I think that it invokes like a tactile, like it's like an art project in school or something like that.
Yeah,
and
no,
I think
it does kind of come out that way because you don't even have time to think about it. So it's like your natural instincts come into play way more than.
But we've talked about this kind of thing before, is that like I think right now a lot of animation is so abstract to people that don't know animation. Like people just think that a whole company is behind every animation, I think. But with videos, especially with these like earlier videos of yours, it has a feeling of one person making it. It has a feeling of like a person really drew this, and it's not a company, it's like a person. And I think that there's like a really relatable thing that's hard to describe about.
It's true.
No,
I agree, because I think like people, well, what do they say, like, like simple art is more relatable because if someone feels like they can draw the character themselves, they connect with it better. And that's kind of part of why the RIPNDIP CAT did so well, because it was so simple that people could draw it. I think Ed Templeton.
It's like a meme. It looks kind of like a meme.
Yeah, but I think Ed Templeton had like from Toy Machine Skateboards?
Yeah.
I think he said that, but I could be completely wrong. I don't remember, but I remember hearing in the interview saying like that, people like characters that you can just doodle on paper. So the easier it is for them to draw them, the more likely it's to become somewhat attached to them because they're able to draw it.
So my question for you regarding all of that is how like as you get more experienced making animation, and like I feel like there's always going to be an accidental, like you're getting better at drawing. Potentially there's a risk of you getting more into that, like it kind of looks like a studio made this, you know what I mean, like just because you're getting better, do you actively fight that and try to like think in a little, like keep it in kind of like an indie space?
I like to pretend that I have some like approach every time I sit down and animate, but I kind of just go for what I feel like. I might draw like one frame and then another, and then I just kind of go back and forth on it, and then I try to go off of like what I think feels real when I'm animating it. But there's not really like I don't have a strategy, because sometimes I go in, like when you've just you have those days where you just sit down and then you're just like the best animator, and then some days you're like, I don't even know how to like do a turnaround.
Yeah, because I mean, there's some things that I've seen you animate recently that like it's like a different person, like that than the person that I saw animating like your original cartoons, like and I ultimately I was just curious as to whether like wanting to animate really well or really fluidly has kind of like encroached on your on kind of the video style that you like to do,
Not at all, because I think like I'm like hyped when I can really go in on something.
Sick. Okay.
And then I'm like doing what because there's still like there's things about it that are just like not right, but somehow it works,
The
within it.
viewers are like, Sean is tiptoeing around saying like, is it messing up your videos now that they aren't bad? Like, that's not what I'm trying to say.
No, I don't think
It's a
that.
very nuanced way to
Yeah,
talk
no,
about this,
no, I don't take it that way at all. I think that, yeah, I mean, because I've been doing a lot of GIFs, so of course I can spend like a whole entire day on one GIF. So like
Yeah.
the work's gonna come better, but watch the next deadline I have. You're gonna see it's gonna be the same shit I always do.
Wait, so how many deadlines have you had that are kind of, is that still a regular thing, or are you better at like, hey, dude, that's not even possible? Like, are you better at asserting that?
Well, I took a full year off like last year
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
because I got pretty burnt
You were
out.
cooking. You were cooking, right?
Yeah,
You
I
were
was.
a chef?
Yeah, I was like, well, I was just worked at a random Chinese restaurant. Like, I learned how to cook on the walk and stuff.
Oh wow, that's cool.
In
Yeah,
touch, getting in touch with that working man. That's good.
yeah,
It keeps you grounded.
If you wanna, I just kind of want to talk about that just a little bit because I think it's really interesting that you noticed, okay, I'm burnt out and I'm gonna do
yeah,
something else for a little bit. How and I think it's really interesting because a lot of people, I think right now in the animation industry are like, well, what if I can't work? How am I supposed to find work? How am I supposed to pay for rent, et cetera, et cetera? Like for you, when you're like, okay, I'm gonna stop doing animation for a little bit and do something else, how do you approach that? Like, do you, you know?
Well, I mean, because I didn't come from like an animation background or just any schooling.
Hmm.
Just my natural instinct is just like, okay, like I need to pay rent. What can I do right now? So I just never had that like brain where I just feel like animation is the only thing I can do. Because I have friends that have never worked a job. They've only worked in animation.
Hmm.
But yeah, if I have to pay rent, like I'll do anything. Like last year I worked so many random jobs. Like I've been working at Flamingo State and doing like PA work.
Yeah.
And
You were
you're
working
doing
landscaping, right? Or something
Yeah,
like that
well,
when I was
so it's
talking
like
to
a
you.
it's like an estate. So it's like they have just like a massive property, and depending on the job, like because they just have, it's like whatever like job available, I'll take. There's times where I literally they have this massive like Aztec pyramid staircase there, and I had
Hmm.
to carry I had to carry dirt and bring it to a landfill. So I was doing that for like a week,
Just getting your
and
legs buff for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, my whole body, because it was, I was filling up bags of tarp, tying it, just like carrying it up the stairs, and
See, the listeners were wondering why you sound so down to earth, and now I think they're understanding it.
Hmm.
yeah,
You're a salt to the earth working man.
yeah, because yeah, you just kind of have to take any job when you have to survive. Like I
Hmm.
can't ask my parents for money, like they don't
Hmm.
have
Yeah,
it. They'll just be like, my come stay with us, like or something.
Come
Like,
start over.
and I
Come like
got
rewind your life. Yeah.
Yeah, and I got because my dad had a restaurant, and I got stuck there during COVID, so never again. Like,
Oh.
and I know that my parents are hearing it. I loved it there, but I just, like working on animation during COVID in lockdown at your parents' house was like insane. I would never.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, just like you said, we all love our parents, but it's like, we a little bit at a time. It's like, okay, we'll spend the weekend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I was working on that like Louis Vuitton thing during it, and it was just like so crazy of a deadline. And they're just like the whole time like, come watch this movie. You can't just be sitting in your room all day. Like they're just equating me like in my room that I'm just like a teenager just not doing anything. So
Ah.
Also, I just want to say how strange it is to hear that you were working on a Louis Vuitton advertisement, and then you would go cook and work in a kitchen. Just like the
Yeah.
difference in between how those two things sound
oh yeah, they're very
is
different.
crazy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But like work comes and goes, and it's not like they're not just like I didn't even get a keychain or anything, but also the keychains are like $300 from them. So
Yeah.
Wait,
Well,
so how and
yeah.
so how does a gig like let's just take the Louis Vuitton as an example. How do you find a gig like that? Is it and how does that come together? Is it just like a marketing person reaching out to you? Are you reaching out to
no,
people? Like how does that kind of
I
happen?
mean, I guess to like give some backstory, my friend Kamau, he was working at Trader Joe's when I met him,
Mhm.
and he like we met because he was like, we had skateboards, and he was like, oh, like you have a skateboard, or he's like, do you guys skate? And I was just my friend Israel, and I was like, I mean, I have a skateboard, like, what do you think? You know, like just messing with him. And then he was like, oh, I just moved here from Louisiana, and then he gave me his number, and then I like he hit, or I think I gave him my number, and then he hit me up, and then we went skating, and he met me and Evan. We went to go to the skate park, and we took like a Uber from the Trader Joe's, and it was kind of far, so we were just like talking about what we do, and he was just like, me and Evan both animate, and then he started going to school for it, and he does like 3D animation now. But
Mm.
he had been living with, or he had first made friends with this guy Philippe, and his parents have this studio called Be Good Studio, and they work with like a lot of high fashion brands, and they worked with Virgil like directly on Louis Vuitton stuff. So when the pandemic hit, they wanted, how no one could film anything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Lena had brought up to Virgil like we should do some animation, and then that's how that came about. And then we just assembled a team and were able to get it done. It was a pretty small crew of people, and yeah, we just had to like make it in a pretty short time. But then we
What was
did
your
that.
role on that? Were you animator?
I mean,
Designer?
that project, we kind of just wore multiple hats because it was kind of who's able to do what. But there was scenes that I animated and then also storyboarded, some like prop design and stuff too, and posters. Like I don't know, it was kind of all over the place. And then
Yeah.
the craziest thing I still feel like that was like the coolest thing for me was that we got to work with Takashi Miike. You know that guy?
Oh shit. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and we had animated over Ichi the Killer, and I was just like, okay, now things are getting pretty crazy. Like obviously, like doing like the Louis Vuitton thing was cool, but I feel like I'm so far removed from like high fashion that
Mhm.
Right.
to me it's just like, okay, this is like another client for me.
Mhm.
But it was cool to like start working with like people like that, just because you're like, okay, like this guy's seeing my work, which is insane. Because I think his movies are really crazy. But
What so one thing that I see from you a lot is sort of like the like jumping into something that you might not even know 100% that you know how to do, but you kind of figure it out. And another thing that I see from you is a willingness to do multiple different jobs to make a thing. It's almost like there's a lot of people in the industry that I think get very used to one very specific lane, and it's almost unheard of to like what I have to animate and I have to storyboard.
Mhm.
And when the studios or the studio jobs go away, you end up with a lot of these jobs where you're it's you and maybe a few friends, and like it's like everybody's animating, everybody's designing, everybody's whatever. To you, I'm assuming it's like that's just how it's always been. It's like everything is connected, but there's a lot of people that like because they go through the studio system and they storyboard for like 10 years and nothing else or something. There's this like there's these fences in between the things. What's like your relationship to kind of touching everything? Like is it all sort of like you like it all, you dabble it in all of it, the soup to nuts?
yeah, I mean, like I never had the, I guess like the privilege of having just one role ever, like
Mhm.
with any job. Because even when my dad's like restaurant, it was just kind of like you just hop in wherever you have to, like as like the owner's son, you just okay, today I'm like doing prep or like dishes or line. That I think that it kind of translated into just my overall work ethic in any aspect that I do, because within animation it is like working in a kitchen. You have to like you have like your prep and all that stuff, and then you know, when you're actually in like the weeds of it, you have to hop in wherever you're able to, especially as a
Yeah.
director. I think it's
Mhm.
important not to just be like relying on everyone else, because I did have a lot of issues in the past working on projects, bringing in kind of animators that I've never worked with before, where it's like, hey, can you also do this? And then they're just kind of like, oh, like, no.
Oh,
And then
interesting.
and then I'm just very like, oh, okay, okay, I'll do it. Don't worry about it. Like, then I'm like later, like, motherfuck, like, what the hell? Like, but you know what happens. So I think just it's good though too to kind of be, you know, self-reliant in some way, because if you're just only able to do one thing, then I don't know, it like takes away like the possibility of kind of getting into something else that maybe you didn't know that you were interested in, because you know there's so many things out there that you could just that could also then translate to strengthening the thing that you're actually doing too, you know? Because
Mhm.
I've been working also with these florists, and I learned a lot about like color and how like to harmonize color together that I wouldn't have like been doing
Are you
just
saying
by
you learned color theory from organizing flowers? Is that what you're telling me right
a
now?
little bit. I mean, like you
That's
learn
cool. That's
because you
cool.
really
That
learn like I would see like them put colors together that I would never think like of kind of putting those together that really bring out like a pink, or just like highlight one specific like focal point in an arrangement, that I do apply that when I'm painting now a little bit more. You know, it like just little things that click, and then I
that is
try to
so
like
cool. I love that you say that because I do think your color work is really nice. You have like a really like good eye for just like complementaries and like that just fun color palette. So it's really interesting that that was how you kind of like learn
yeah,
color.
because I would just see that like I was working with these people called the Boy Who Cried Flowers, and they're so good at what they do, and just I don't know, like seeing them put like arrangements together, I was just like they came out so beautiful, and then I was just like I would not think to put like this brown color in here, but it really brings out yellow more, you know? So then when I'm, you know, doing background and stuff, I'm like, how do I like kind of mute things, but then also highlight others? And it just,
Yeah, and now every time Jayme talks about color, he's always like, okay, so like the bouquet from this shot feels off, and then the bouquet
yeah,
from this
yeah.
shot, and now
Um,
now he talks about color theory in terms of bouquets and stuff, even in animation.
I mean, I even notice it now in like movies and backgrounds, like in like The Boy and the Heron.
Hmm.
They had some cool arrangements in the background, and there's like that, you know, magnetic rose that, what is it, from the Satoshi Kon did the background.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
But it's that like three-part series. What's that one called? Like you know what I'm talking about? Like it's like Magnetic Rose, and there was like two other films that it was like the artist of Kira worked on.
Magnetic
I
Rose. Let
can't
me
think of the
just
name
look
of
it
it right
up
now.
really fast. Memories.
Yeah, yeah, Memories, yeah.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
you start like, you know, now that I start doing like the floral stuff, I kind of just notice it in everything else. Like, and there's like floral teams and stuff that work on film and TV, and I didn't, you know, put any thought into it before, but it really does like put a lot into your room. So when you're doing background design, I think it's like cool to put in flowers now, and I know a little bit about it, so it's like I don't know, it's like my way of doing it on the computer.
How would you kind of like describe your role as a director? Because you brought up directing and bringing animators on to your projects. How do you, can you tell us a little bit from the moment you get a project, like a new project, like from a client, how do you kind of start thinking about it? How do you start building your team or even building the project?
Yeah, so I mean, usually it's like a conversation with the client. I kind of, especially, I think that a lot of the work that I tend to get is people that have never really worked in animation at all.
Hmm.
So I'm trying to fish out like what is it that they really want, you know,
Hmm.
before I get started, and then, you know, like terrifying with budget, because, you know, since they've never worked in animation, they think that like I'd be
Yeah.
stoked to do it for like how much exposure I'll get, or, you know, like how big of a brand it is, or just like dealing with a client that just, yeah, they just, that hasn't worked in it, but they think they know exactly what they want. and it's nothing like the work that I make. So I have to figure out middle ground that I can kind of present to them that we're both happy. And then yeah, just assembling a team doing freelance is pretty much just like who the like you're just screaming into the universe like who the fuck is available? Like anybody please like just help do anything. Like so it's not really like there's as much planning as you can put into it, but I think just like working in the spaces that I've been working in where it's not as experienced working with animation, it's kind of just dependent on reaching a deadline and keeping them up to date as you go along so that it's not a surprise to them and it's not like a failure for me.
When you're planning like the look of the cartoon, do you do like production stills at the beginning, or is it like do you do like a full test shot? Like how do you pitch the client on like what it's going to look like?
Yeah, so I mean I do like my character design. I usually try to give them my character sheets of the main characters, and then the storyboards is usually kind of what I show to like give them the flow and pace of the animation. But it's also just different with every client because there's been times where it's like the deadline's been pretty short, so it's like here's a drawing of a character, we're gonna get started, and here's like pretty rough animatic that I wish I would be able to show on my website, but they're just that bad of drawings that it's like great. Now I have no like storyboard work to show because like it's almost stick figures. So
but that works for music videos and or advertisement. I'm guessing in your experience, do you feel like the clients are used to looking at drawings like that, or do you have to kind of like pitch it with them so they kind of understand the drawings?
Yeah, I mean, you usually have to explain to them that like this is not what it's going to look like in the end because there's been times where they're like, "What is this?"
these drawings look like shit. These are just stick figures.
Yeah. So it's like you have to tell them that to some people, but usually they get it.
Client education. Client education is so funny. I feel like it's almost worthwhile having like if you work with a lot of clients like that, just making a packet for them to like here's this is so we're speaking the same language.
Yeah.
So like I'll teach you how to talk about animation with me.
Yeah, because you have to be like, this isn't it, but this is what the like character looks like. So here's my other work, fill in the gaps, I guess. Like, but I do work with my friend Tom Carter a lot, and he's like he edits everything for me, and he's way better at communicating with the client and allowing me to just kind of jump into the project and get it going. So, it's good to have someone like that on board because he is the one that handles that for the most part. But when I have a project where he's busy working on other ones, he just comes in the end to help like polish it out. And I'm like, help. Like,
when you reach out to people to help you out on your projects, is it just like people that you've worked with before and it's just like you like reach out through email or like text or whatever, or do you ever kind of like try like a broader kind of like, I don't know, do you ever ask for help on social media? What's your way of doing that?
Well, a lot of the times it's like I reach out to Evan and then it's like me and Evan are just like, fuck it, we'll do it ourselves. But if he's unavailable, then I have other friends that I like will reach out to, like Lucas Anderson is one, and he's like an incredible animator, but I try not to give him too much because he's like so good that I don't want to rely on him to and get him burnt out. But a lot of the times it's just me doing it. Like there's been so many times where I'm just like, oh, the budget isn't that crazy. I do not want to ask any of my friends to like do any work for this low of a rate. I'll just do it. Yeah. So usually it's that way. But
I'm curious how like working in shirt design, do you feel like it's helped you with your posing or like what the iconic gag, is going to be, or like how can you think of any ways that it's like crossed over design wise that has helped at all? Because you worked even besides RIPNDIP. I feel like you were working with weren't you working with Bored Teenager too? Or
Yeah. That was like I was working there. What year? I don't remember what year it was, but Yeah, I was working there, and it does. Well, I was making the graphics to animate at the same time when I was working at Teenage.
Mm-hmm.
So like a lot of the designs, I guess, were simplified to animate, you know, for the
Mm-hmm.
graphics.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that now it's kind of just stuck like both ends, where it's like I just kept everything very simple because I'm gonna have to animate it. I don't really put too much thought
Yeah,
into
yeah,
like
Honestly, what is like so appealing overall about your work is like it does kind of like, I don't know. I feel like for me making like animation on Newgrounds when I was like 16 or whatever, and then going to art school, it feels like you know you need to make this kind of like a clean break between what you used to do as a teenager and then what you should quote unquote be doing as a professional. But I think what's cool about your work is that you kind of retain the like purity of, you know, what it's like to draw like as a teen, you know, like the kind of like shapes,
like
the
doodling.
fun, the doodles, yeah. And it's that's so cool about, you know, like that you've made it your style. Like I think, do you feel like when clients reach out, they are looking for your specific style, or do you have to like tell them like, oh, this is how I draw and this is what you'll get?
maybe I got the gift of gab and I'm able to persuade them that this is what they're ideally looking for because it's the only thing I'm capable of. But then there's times
Yeah,
where I just attempt to do the thing that they're looking for, and then it, you know, it always kind of morphs back into the end result ends up kind of morphing back into the work that I just create because I'm not capable of doing, you know,
Mhm.
more than that. But then there was times where like I did one for a friend and he had an art show and I tried to mimic his art and I created like puppets for it
Oh, nice.
on After Effects where I just like, you know, I like rigged up the whole thing. And Lucas used to live 2 doors down from me, and I would just go over there and be like, "Hey, like, what am I doing wrong with this rig?" Because he worked on Tigtone, so he was able to kind of like explain. And then once he kind of gave me the rundown, I was able to piece together like a like puppet and make it work. And it was
was he
nothing
an
like a
animator on TikTok?
yeah, he was.
Because he's such a good hand drawn animator, it's so hard to imagine him
I
working on
know.
like such a puppeted show.
I know, but he I guess it just like what was it? The producer was the one that was like, "Hey, do you want to work on like I have work for you if you want to work on TikTok?" But yeah, a lot of the times this the work is just I can only provide this, you know?
Mhm.
And also a lot of times they don't even know what they really want. Like, you know how often I've gone, we want anime
Oh yeah.
style, and they're reaching out to me and I'm like, oh, perfect. Like that's my specialty. But you know, when you got to pay rent, you'll just say yes to a lot of things that you're not even sure if you're capable of doing. And then I surprise myself at times where I'm just like, okay, like this is the anime that I would watch because I made it now.
Have you ever thought of making like what's the word for it? Like a cartoon as in like a show or like with your own characters, like something like more narrative, I guess.
Yeah, I
If
mean, I have like a pitch that I've been working on, but it's like revolved around me and my life.
Mhm.
So I always hit walls where it's just like, okay, this is getting really hard to work on now, and I stop, or I just have
Hmm.
work that I actually have to work on. But uh,
Have you thought about taking some of the things from that and in the meantime just kind of like making a diary comic with that character so to get people like to flesh it out and stuff?
no, I haven't thought about that at all.
Okay.
but
I
but
yeah, I mean maybe that's not your style of
but no, no,
storytelling, you
no.
know.
But like that is a good idea because I definitely like have made like a lot of comics and animatics that I just never have done anything with that are fully fleshed out.
I feel like there's a lot of things that people put into pitches that
Mhm.
sometimes some of those ideas would be better out in the world just gaining eyes and support, and
Oh,
like
totally.
you can still pitch that stuff just because you have it in a bible
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
mean you're and it's almost like some people NDA themselves.
No,
Like
I
they're
know.
like,
I
I'm not
mean,
allowed to talk, you know.
well, I think I like even for how simple and you know how very loose my work gets, I do tend to be hypercritical of the things that I'm doing, and
Oh
I
yeah.
hesitate on what I'm ultimately going to post online because I overthink things a lot. But then there's times where I just like, maybe a little bit buzzed, like, oh, this is funny. And then I look at it later, I'm like, and then I delete it or something. So I don't know. It just depends on my mood. But it's like that type of personal work. It's a little bit more, I don't know. I feel so like I'm holding it too near and dear at times. But
That makes sense.
but Blake had reached out recently, and he's like,
so this is Blake Anderson from Workaholics.
Yeah. And he's just like, can we please just fucking work on something? Like, just give me anything and we'll get started on it. And then he had me writing some spec scripts that I was sending to him, and then he asked me to do one with the splatter thing, and it got a little bit hard because I got like fucking pissed when I was thinking about it.
Well, I mean, but yeah, I mean that's some funny energy to put into a thing, though. I think that's cool. Also, I just for the viewers at home, the listeners, Jayme worked with Blake in Blake's t-shirt company, right?
Yeah, Bored
Teenager.
Yeah.
So that's why you guys know each other. The audience is just going to be like, well, how does he know? He just knows Blake.
Yeah, I just ran into him on the street,
And he was like, you have to give me an idea to work on together.
Yeah. He was looking ragged, and I just was like, oh yeah, I can do something for you.
I feel I'm getting the feeling that you've met a lot of people that you're being artistically collaborative with, like through skateboarding. Is that, would you say that's right?
Yeah. I mean, it's like a weird little, like not a cult, but
club.
It's just like
club is probably a nicer way to say it, right?
Yeah. But it's just like, it's a lot of times just like no one else knows animators outside of the animation world. So it's like I'm like a unicorn at times in these weird little like social circles where it's like, oh, you're the only person I know that does this. Like, animate this thing for me, Like,
yeah.
That's so funny. I think that's also a really cool like thing to point out, just because I feel like, I mean, obviously so much of our podcast is just talking to industry people, so we are always just kind of like talking about like, meeting people through like school or whatever. So it's kind of nice to also point out like, hey, there's like so many different ways you can meet people.
Yeah, I think you'll meet a lot more people that can work with you outside of animation if you are doing like smaller projects. Like, I think it's a lot harder to get into the actual like industry to work on a show because you have to be so at such a different level that I get to work with other people that don't know anything about animation.
I feel like it's a testament to being social and being friendly and making friends and doing things, because
animators do have to learn how to communicate because they're very antisocial at times.
Yeah.
I also feel, what would you say, because I feel that there's a connection, but sometimes it's hard to explain. I feel like there's a connection in between skateboarding and also like a little bit the hip hop world, and I feel like for some reason, you're this skater who makes a lot of rap and hip hop videos, but it feels right. What would you say is there like a link there?
Well, I mean, a lot of hip hop is used in skateboarding or skate videos just because it's like, has the pace of it, and you look cool doing it. But a lot of like the rap video stuff I got through my old roommate Sagan, because he was like a part of Odd Future, being like the photographer for them.
Yeah, so like Tyler the Creator and all those dudes.
Yeah, but which they skated as well. So, and then it's weird because it's like a lot of rappers nowadays, they've skated at some point in their life, so there's that connection, especially with like Tyler and Earl and stuff. They've skated their whole life.
Yeah, it's funny because it's not a connection that feels strange. Like, it all feels like these kind of subcultures that are very in tune with, I don't know, something like an underground current, or I don't know. It's weird to talk about, but
well, streets. You're both in the streets. They're rapping about it. We're in it.
You're falling on the streets. they're rapping about the streets. Sitting
on the streets, and
you're scraping your knee on the streets.
So that's our linkage. But yeah, just like a lot of hip hop's been a big part of skateboarding culture, and I think over time too, like there's been really cool like projects with different hip hop artists working within skateboarding, like or just like the connection of being friends with skaters, like just skaters are pretty loud and noticeable at an event, and I think that maybe like rappers tend to gravitate towards that energy
Yeah.
in some way.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. You
And
would
that,
say like, yeah, because it's like, yeah, you kind of create that energy that's like easier to engage with, I guess, just by being, yeah.
yeah, just being
Hmm.
wild, and then everyone's smoking weed, and they're smoking weed,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
but then also just like the whole Odd Future thing is like they were all skaters, so then that was like the next generation, and then now I think there's even more people that are having a career in rap and skateboarding.
Yeah, I remember when I first moved out to LA, I remember I used to I, I used to hang out with like you guys, and people would freestyle. And so there was also this like sort of skateboarding, and then like when you hang out, we were like freestyling and I would beatbox or whatever, and like it just like it reminded me of, I guess, when I was younger, just hanging out, and like I didn't have any place to be, and we were just hanging out with my friends like after our parents kicked us out of our houses, and we just like just trying to like sort of make and do. And I have a lot of like fond memories from kind of like hanging out with skateboard friend. I mean, even though I don't skateboard, just kind of like the way that skateboard
But
dudes hang out.
you're like besties with Evan, and you're honorary. You got the hacky sack and the
That's true.
brick
Hacky
tricks,
That's
sack.
true.
That you
That's
still,
true. That's true.
Sean still does the hacky sack.
I still do the hacky sack. Yeah.
And he used to do brick
Yeah.
tricks.
I used to. If I could find a loose brick, I would film some tricks with it. I call them tricks.
Yeah,
Not everybody. Listen. Not everybody calls them tricks. I call them tricks. So.
but I haven't. I need to skate. Like I don't know if Evan told you, but I'm gonna be moving in with him next month.
Oh, cool. Is that in New York?
Yeah, in New York.
Yeah. Damn. That's
Oh,
crazy.
wow.
So yeah, well, like before Evan moved like 2 years ago, I would just go to his house every day. We'd hang out and work because I have the portable Cintiq as well.
Hmm.
So I would just go over there and we'd work together.
He can be the guy that stands behind you and watches you while you draw.
Yeah, he will. He will be doing that
That's
probably
amazing.
because I think we'll be working together on some stuff. So
Yeah, Evan has like I've collaborated with him a lot. Evan is for a long time was, I would say, one of my best animation friends. Like we started off at our first job together, at Fox ADHD, and then worked on stuff together. He was my board partner on the Midnight Gospel. So
Oh,
Evan,
wow.
maybe someday we'll have him on the pod too. Evan's
I'm surprised that he hadn't been. I think that I got invited because Evan was not able to join today.
Nah.
I'm joking. You guys asked me like a month ago. No, yeah, Evan's the best. I mean, he's so patient because when I worked on like 3 stories, like he just didn't have anything going on, and then we just worked together, and he was really the one that just taught me how to do everything or tell me what not to do. Like oh, you have to do it this way because then you really feel the weight of the character. So now he's a professor at SVA.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
that was his
wow.
first
He's
year.
like the embodiment of what I envision, like the crossover in between skating and animating, and like he like has that perfect balance of like he works on he's fucking working on shows and getting asked to animate skate parts in shows, and then like on his lunch breaks he goes to like skate. I don't know.
Skate.
Yeah, I mean I've always thought he was very he feels very pure, like he like does what he wants.
Well,
You
you remember how like he basically got into animation because he used to just draw skate sequences, like doing crazy tricks, like
step by step, pose by
and
pose.
that's
Yeah.
hmm exactly. So he just really got like the hang of it
Oh, wow.
from the get
So
go.
he's also self-taught like you.
Yeah, we'll interview about him. This is his interview, but it's through you.
No, I love it. I'll tell you all about him. But yeah, no, he like he taught himself how to like make skate sequences, and which is just animation. Like if you were to frame him up, it would be like perfect because he was like so into it. But then that's what got him to go to SVA. Like I wish that when I went to school, like my teachers would have been like, "Oh, you could do animation as a job." I just didn't put any thought into it.
What did you
I want
end up doing? Like, what did you do in school? Like, did you go to college?
No, I was gonna go to I got accepted into like school, the Art Institute of Chicago, and this school in Finland, Taik. Then I had some family stuff. I had to take care of my little cousin with my grandma, so I moved to New York. I moved back to New York, and yeah, I just was like taking care of 3-year-old with my grandma, so I didn't go to school. But I wanted to go into fine arts, so maybe I'm glad I didn't. I could have been like so pretentious. But I ended up working at the preschool where he went for a while.
Yeah, I think that's what's cool also about like your journey in general is like, you know, you're still like directing music videos and everything and like doing client work and animating and everything, and you know, you didn't have to go to school for it, and you have all these like amazing experiences, or like at least interesting, that like you can write stories about and stuff. Like I'm actually really excited to, you know.
Yeah, write what you know,
exactly,
right?
yeah.
Right.
At least I have a lot of stories, but I don't know if I could write everything.
Well, dude, I feel like there's part of me that feels like you should tell these stories without a censor, because I feel like you've lived life pretty hard. Like I mean, you're like working down and dirty jobs. You're skating in the streets with your buddies, probably getting into trouble and shit. Like I'm sure you have stories to tell, and I hope that you find a way that's really comfortable for you to tell those. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I've been because I did take like a bunch of like different writing classes like that. What is that, Rad school that he does?
Yeah.
Yeah, I took like some, and I took this good like storyboarding class with Chase.
Oh yeah,
Connolly.
He was on the pod, Chase Conley, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. But he was like, so I've been like, I think just kind of trying to get better at the craft by like learning certain things, but then also when just kind of forcing myself to do more writing stuff, like just learning what just the general like skills that I have to have, because otherwise it looks like a third grader wrote something and then I take it to Blake and he'll just be like, "Oh fuck, I never mind."
Like, by the way, Chase Connolly, episode 155. Check it out. That's an awesome episode. But it's interesting. You took a lot of like directing and like storyboarding courses from very action oriented artists. Is that something? Do you want to be getting into, or is that just something that you didn't know how to do and you just wanted to try it out? Or
well, no, I think that action is important for like especially music videos and stuff, you know, like for keeping people's attention. And also just like, you know, Chase Connolly's like really good at what he does, and I just wanted to like learn how he does it and just kind of hear him talk, because the classes went so much longer than they were supposed to, because he would just be like telling stories, and it was cool to just hear like his side of the world too.
Just like, I'm getting stories for free, you know, like
yeah, because like Evan would tell me about working at ADHD with him, and he was like, this dude would just be like doing push-ups. He was like Matt Brolick in his office at, you know, did he do this at ADHD? Because that's what Evan would say, just be doing push-ups every morning.
You're not supposed to have a six-pack and be one of the best animators. It's crazy.
Me and Evan have been like trying for a while to become like the stronger animators and going
like literally strong. Okay, so literally stronger. Okay, yeah.
That's so funny.
You guys are trying to pick up that role.
You should like put like weights on your stylus so that it's kind of like in anime one day. Then
I drop my Cintiq pen. It's like,
And your hands like floating up because it's so light.
yeah.
Like you can draw really fast and everything, like that Death Note gif when he's like writing.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But yeah, no, there was like, I was doing a lot of those classes just to see like what it is that I don't know, because then I think it'll help me improve in what I do know. But I hate like certain things where you like learn bad habits and behaviors and you have to unlearn it.
What's a bad behavior that you feel like you've learned and you've had to unlearn?
I mean, a lot of the times I work on something, it's like I'll just go sit down and just kind of go through one thing without correcting things and then just calling it a day.
Oh,
where
you go
should...
with your first design. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And I think that I shouldn't always do that, because then it's like you can definitely improve things. So I've been not doing that, and it has helped a lot. But then a lot of the times too, it's like, oh, I do really like the way.
Sometimes your first impression ends up being the one you come back to.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
It's hard. Like, do you trust it, or do you assume that your first idea is always the worst? Like, I hear opposite things all the time with that.
Yeah, I mean, if it feels right, it feels right, you know?
Yeah.
So
That's so true. I was just having that discussion with a friend of mine recently. It's like I think what's the really the harder part is when you're doing something and it doesn't feel right and you don't know how to fix it. You know, I don't know if you ever run into that problem, or if thanks to the like crazy deadlines, you're just like, well, I can't think about it right now.
Oh no, all the time. Like, there's so many situations where it's like, why doesn't this feel right? Like, what's wrong with the timing, or just the overall like movement, and then you just can't work around it, and then you just show it to like, I'll have to show it to like a friend and be like, can you just look at this and tell me what's wrong? And they'll be like, oh, this is like, this one frame is off, and then I just fix that, and it feels way more like natural or fluid. It's just also when you're sitting there like for hours at a day, like on a screen, you just become oblivious to your mistakes because you're just so like,
Mm-hmm. Oh
you know?
yeah.
I don't know the right word, but like, there's so many times where it's like the end of the day where you just really want to try to finish something, and then you're spending so much time like stuck on it, and then it helps to walk away a little bit to come back to it and be like, oh, this looks like shit because of this one like this one frame. It's like off. Like, if you just take this one drawing out, you know, like sometimes you put too many drawings into a shot, and it's like, just take that out and it'll feel right.
Yeah, that's so true. I feel like, yeah, it's that I think that was like a big thing I had to learn, was to like be less precious with my drawings and like throw them away, you know, be like more like liberal with the way I just kind of throw drawings away.
Well, Command Z is like a curse, because, or not a curse, but like,
Yeah.
I wish that there was like an animation software that didn't have like an instantly delete button, because half the time I'm trying to do one curve, it just
I think you're talking about paper, my guy.
No, I know, but imagine like, you know, doing a whole project on paper. But it would be great to like do your rough animation where you weren't able to hit Command Z and you really had to think about each stroke that you're doing, because then it'll feel.
You know, that's so funny, and that's so true that you bring that up. Command Z, I do remember a moment in my career where I was using it a lot, and then I think drawing with pan or like, you know, Sharpie a lot, then you kind of stop.
Yeah.
I ended up using the eraser more than I use Command Z now somehow, and it's kind of
Really?
it's a funny way to kind of switch around the way to use digital, because like you said, Command Z is like a huge fucking trap, and then you're like, and then your fingers are constantly doing that motion, and then you're just wasting so much time. Whereas that when I feel like instead of Command Z, I just kind of long press the E key, so that you have the eraser pops up as long as it's pressed, and then you release it, and then it goes back to pen.
Yeah. And you just fix the part of the line even that is wrong, but maybe not deleting the whole thing.
Yeah, I switched my fingers to the arrow keys, the back and forth, and I try to do it more as if I'm like animating on paper.
Yeah.
So if I'm animating something, I'm just constantly going back and forth and try to avoid the other side of the keyboard
Yeah.
because there's been so many times where I'm like, that was like a perfect curve. That curve was perfect. Now I'm gonna have to sit here for 5 minutes trying to get that same curve. Like, so
Oh my
Yeah,
god,
that's
that's
the
so funny.
curse.
That's so true. What are your softwares of choice?
I mean, Adobe is like where I'm at because I do really like the workflow between like After Effects and Premiere and
Mm.
Animate. And just being able to like, you
Yeah.
can auto adjust on Animate and it updates on After Effects. And I've been doing more things within After Effects too. So I do like that workflow, not having to like export an MOV file and then import. It's
Mhm.
like it's just nice to kind of have like it all in one. But I am paying for Adobe, so I shouldn't be highly praising them this much because they take a chunk
They
out of
are
my
so
wallet.
expensive. Yeah, I was wondering if you were using anything
Yeah.
like Blender or anything else, like any of the like free open source kind of like softwares. Because I mean, yeah.
No, I
Mhm.
would. I would, but I just like I've tried playing around with Blender and it's just one of those programs where I just need headspace to be able to sit down and learn it. But then when I sit at the computer, I'm like, oh, I'm going to animate this thing instead,
Mhm.
So because I already know how to do that, it's really hard to sit down and learn
Yeah.
Blender. It's like a completely different program, and my attempts at it look so bad. But I would love to
You,
be able to do it
you
one
want to
day.
know
But who knows?
a faux pas that I've been engaging in work flow wise that I haven't told anyone about? I've been compositing and
Uh-oh.
doing everything in Flash without bringing it into After Effects. Like I bring my Photoshop backgrounds into Flash. I like I do like
Oh,
my
I do that all the
like
time.
somewhat of a color correct in Flash too, and I do like my in-camera effects.
Yeah, because you can do adjustment
Yeah,
layers.
yeah,
And,
yeah. Like I do my glows in Adobe Animate too. I like I stopped like switching in between programs as much, and just because it saves just a little bit of time. And yeah, you guys are the only ones that know. It's a good thing no one's listening.
well, no, I mean, I already seen
Yeah.
your workflow, and I feel like that's how I learned how to do it because I would see you do like camera moves, but then my friend Tom was the one that was like, you should start doing After
It's true.
Effects. Like
It's
you can do
true.
so many more things within it. But it is so easy to do it in Animate because you're playing around at the same time, and a lot of things are you're figuring out, and then it's like, well, this works so well here, I might as well just.
The quality is going to come out high. The quality of the camera move and the crispness of the lines, it's going to come out better in After Effects. I know that, and it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I in a few recent projects, I've just been completely compositing in, and all the compositor people I know would be
Yeah,
freaking
but
out
you
at
know
me
how
right
often
now. But
I've done that. I do that a lot too, where it's like I almost forget that I can use After Effects because I'm so in like this, like just working on Animate that I'm just there and doing it. And then by the time it works, it's like, well, there's nothing I really have to be doing on After Effects now because it's done.
yeah, yeah. I'm getting back to my scrappy like me as a teenager working in Adobe Animate roots. That's all.
Well, because you've been working on like not older work, but like you're redoing like older stuff new.
Right.
So your brain has kind of went back to that old Sean.
It's like a comfort.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's like, when you have your comfort software,
Yeah.
I mean, it is so hard to learn a new software. And like, I just kind of like joke around, like, when people figure out that I draw my entire comic in Storyboard Pro, they're like, what are you doing? And it's been, because it's my comfort software. I mean,
Oh,
Storyboard,
yeah, that's where you
yeah.
do it?
That's so funny. I thought it was in Clip Studio now.
Yeah.
I thought
No,
you
so
switched back.
I'm using Clip Studio Paint a lot for illustrations. I'm like teaching myself Clip Studio Paint for when I'm gonna do a new comic. But because so much of it has been done in Storyboard Pro, I'm like, it's gonna look too different. But yeah, it's so hard to switch because I'm like, because Storyboard Pro, it's like, it's our comfort software. We're just like in it all the time. So it's like we have all our little hotkeys, our little like things. And I've had to be like intentional about like, okay, no, I need to stop this shit because it's not great for like printing and stuff.
That's how I am in Adobe Animate. Don't tell anybody, but like if they don't say that I have to storyboard in Storyboard Pro, I always storyboard
Oh my
in
God.
Animate.
Well,
I don't like how my brushes look in Storyboard Pro. I've worked on Storyboard Pro for so many shows. I go back to Animate, and if no one tells me to use it, I'll.
but can you like in Storyboard Pro can you just like auto play it though? Because in Animate you can just hit Command Enter and then it starts to play, or just
You can't.
Yeah, you can. There's a lot of
okay.
similar things.
There's just
When I was trying to learn Storyboard Pro, I just got like frustrated, and then I just went back to storyboarding on Animate because it's like I know
honestly,
how to do
yeah,
it.
people who love Animate and that was like a big thing with like the BoJack crew because they were like storyboarding and like Animate, and then when they had to move to Storyboard Pro, a lot of them were like curses, because it's like like you don't have the timelines.
It's just in different language.
I mean, I'd love to use like TV Paint because I like their brushes, but I just don't have like the bandwidth to sit down and relearn a whole different program, because then it might fuck up me using Animate.
I said that was something that was like really interesting about like working on our Adult Swim Smalls with Sam and I. We let the animators use whichever programs they wanted to use. So we had someone in Animate, someone in TV Paint, and someone in what's the other one? Harmony.
Actually, while you brought it up, I think this is going to be coming out around the time that my Smalls are going to be.
Yeah.
When is it?
Yeah, so my Smalls are going to be releasing on October 4th, 11th, and 18th on Adult Swim's YouTube channel. Look out for Bodyhead.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's my cartoon about a bunch of kids with body parts for heads that can fuse into one flesh Megazord of a guy who has a whole body for a head.
It's amazing. It's really crazy.
Thanks.
We do have a bunch of questions from our listeners. The first one from Patreon, Puzzle Glum, is asking, what's your favorite subject to illustrate or animate?
Favorite subject? Like just on my own?
Yeah, just like what's your comfort go-to thing? Like if you're just like, I kind of want to animate something right now.
So that like one pitch that I keep working on and not working on it, it's called Fill the Void, and it's this guy. I'll draw it right now. I drew it earlier, but that's like my comfort one.
Oh yeah, with the big hair. Yeah.
Yeah, I usually just end up drawing him when I can't think of what to draw.
He reminds me of those gesture hats.
Yeah, a little bit.
Remember those gesture
It's just
hats?
an extreme version of
if I give him
yeah, totally. It's just like an extreme version of my hair because I don't do anything with it, so it's kind of all over the place.
That's so funny. I love that design because it's like very iconic. It's so simple and yet very iconic. I don't know. It feels almost kind of like kind of 90s in a way. I don't know if that makes sense.
A little bit. No, I think so a little bit. I think because like a lot of the stuff that I grew up, I don't know how to do arms right now. A lot of the stuff I grew up watching, like is from that time because I was born in '90.
What would you say influences your style the most?
So
like, where do you get your stuff from?
I think like my biggest like influence is like the shows I watched as a kid, and I used to really love this one show called Three Friends and Jerry. Have you ever heard of it?
Three Friends and Jerry.
Three Friends and Jerry.
Yeah, it's Magnus Carlsen. He also had this other show called Robin. But I was like obsessed with this show, and it only played on like Fox Kids, or it was like either Fox Kids or it was like some ABC block, and it played.
Damn, this makes so much sense.
But it played like it was either like 2 or 3 times a week, and it only played 1 time a day, and it was either I got on the school bus home in time to catch it or I missed it. So I think it just had this like importance where I was like, I have to watch it,
Yo, these far heads are crazy.
I know, they have like really good.
These are some big heads.
And just like the pacing of that show is really good. And he that animator, I just really like the way that, because it feels very like Scandinavian because he's from Sweden.
Yeah.
And it's not Magnus Carlsen, the chess player, but they have the same name.
That would be a crazy twist.
Yeah, that would be that he like animates like this. But yeah, that show is really good. I think I just liked it because they look so strange in comparison to like all the
I
other
wonder
shows
what happened
that were.
where, like, in the 90s, they had all of these kind of like international artists. So those guys from Sweden, they had Klesbo Schupik doing like all the like Nickelodeon stuff. There's like a lot of more like
Yeah,
different
and then
influences and
and then Ed, Ed and Eddie is Canadian,
uh-huh.
and there was a lot of Canadian shows. Probably just because like other countries were making stuff and they're able to license it, right? Like I'm
I have
assuming.
no idea. I wonder. I wonder because I was also watching a YouTube video recently of like a kind of like an I don't know an iceberg or whatever, and they were like the creepiest thing on Nickelodeon, you know, anthologies, and
Yeah,
you'd have stuff from all over the place, and it looks like they just were going to like animation festivals or whatever, like stuff that were like more like artsy, you know. It's
yeah,
just a thought, just a I just thought of that right now. I don't
yeah.
know.
You know, I wonder because like um, like Estonia, for example, they have like that. They have a good animation school there, and they had print parent teaching there. So they bred a lot of animators out of there that kind of have that really weird like Soviet style of animation. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that I don't know where I'm going with this, but you could cut this one out. No, but I think
They
just
were breeding Soviet style
yeah,
animators
yeah.
over there.
But I don't know. I just think like that each country has like weird shows and they probably just try to get it to other places and then Nickelodeon had a good like and Cartoon Network both were good places to showcase different shows because they were just probably trying to get whatever they could variety at the time. No?
Mhm. Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
and now they're like, let's just either not pick anything up or like let's just have it only be American shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just like let's get a celebrity to write it and have like it made in another country and
Yeah. Yeah.
make fart jokes and
I mean, it's just interesting to think about how like much more diverse in terms of like styles and stuff. Like it felt
yeah,
more
no, it
like
was cool.
back then it felt just kind of a little bit more of a what's it called? Like a little surprise when you would turn on the TV, you wouldn't know what it would look like, I guess.
Yeah, because then you even had like, another big influence was like obviously like the animated
Mm-hmm.
Batman, like which is like so different than like other shows that were on at the time. It's just they had such a huge variety for animation back then that I think now it's like either it's 3D animated or it's like puppeted 2D. So I think just lost a lot of the animator created shows that,
Mm-hmm.
their magic and
Well, I think another problem is that there's a lot of shows that even if they're not puppeted, it's like they kind of want it to they still want it to look stiff and puppeted. Like so they're like redrawing like really, 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 really on model stuff
yeah.
Yeah.
instead of like I don't know, letting things feel cartoony. It's like when things feel cartoony, that's just for
Mm-hmm.
kids,
Yeah.
and which I think is frustrating.
We have a question from Patreon. Ajax the Abrasive asks, I'm curious to hear about what it's like working for brands outside of the entertainment industry. It's a pretty broad question. Let me see how, like, maybe kind of like, what's like the frequency of the project? What's the relationship like with the clients? And maybe like how much freedom do you have on these projects?
Do you have returning
Mm-hmm.
client? Do you have like a returning
Yeah, yeah.
clients, stuff like that?
So, I mean, you'd actually be surprised at like how little the bigger the brand has their shit together.
That is so
Like you
funny.
would think,
That's funny.
because you would really think like, oh, like I'm working for like big brand.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say anyone in particular.
But did they just like designate one overworked person to
Yeah,
oversee that, and they're like half paying
yeah.
attention?
And then it's like they like have to go bring everything through like legal department. So it's like a lot of stuff that you're doing. It's like have to redo, and then all of a sudden it's like the thing that you worked hard on keeps like getting stripped down to where it's like you have parallaxing and like panned still images because all the notes took away like stuff that wasn't brought up to legal in the storyboarding process.
Can you talk about a specific instance of that? Was there something you guys were trying to do and legal was like, you can't do that?
It's like, but it's never like legal because of like us. It's like there's the ones that are like, a lot of the client-based work is very like we want this to happen, and you put your creativity wherever you can kind of squeeze it in. But it's like we're thinking like that this character is gonna go here to the store, and then they're gonna see the product and be like, wow. And then it's like this celebrity that's doing it, and then they're like, hey, we've talked to legal, and unfortunately like we didn't get approval from that celebrity, so like
No.
you know
And they can't go into that store that you
yeah,
had
yeah,
them go into. That store doesn't sell our
yeah, and
product.
then the
Yeah,
product has to be orange now, and like maybe like they're wearing a different hat. So like it just
and then you have to do corrections throughout the whole thing
yeah,
where they have a different hat just because somebody was like, "What if they wear a
yeah,
hat?"
we've had
You
like
know.
oh, I've had like actual terrible you know PTSD from working it with like a client that was just kept changing everything along the way, and then the end result is just like, oh my God. So it's not on my website. It's not shared anywhere. Like you'll never see it. You'll never hear the name. But yeah, it's like it varies on the client. But yeah, you would think like a bigger the brand, the more that they have their stuff together, and they really don't. And you just kind of have to just roll with it at
That's
times.
crazy. Oh my
Yeah,
God. Yeah.
yeah, because you would think like that they would like they've worked in it before, and then I've had situations where it's like they're they start making my animation style, but they're not reaching out to me, and then like that's like another thing that kind of sucks working with like brands and other clients because they just feel like you've created this thing that works, and it's like maybe now they pitched it to someone else and then they are down to do it for cheaper or something. You never really know.
Mm.
But that's what sucks is when you kind of just start to see like a replica of your work and then they didn't even ask you to do it,
Oh no.
which
Yeah.
brands tend to do, and like it's kind of hard to avoid those situations because it's like you don't want to come off paranoid maybe when you're
Yeah.
like trying to get some client work, like, oh, and just also like please don't because they usually are the ones sending you other people's like work and being like, we want it in this style,
Mm.
and then you're like, there's been times where I've turned down work where it's like, oh yeah, you should reach out to that person because that's their work.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's crazy. I feel like that's crazy that they would just kind of, I mean, it's not surprising, but that they would kind of like replicate the kind of like type of work, but with for cheaper somebody else. Do you have any representation or anybody that's like kind of like looking over contracts for you, or you just kind of like doing it on your own?
no, but I mean, Tom, if I'm working
Mm-hmm.
with him, like he has his own company, it's called Press Digital Media, and when I get work through him, it's like he handles all that.
Mm.
It's more when I'm on my own doing it, I tend to like can get a little bit of a shadier client
Mm-hmm.
that if I but now I've been working so long that I can kind of sniff out that and avoid it. But definitely like if you're starting in animation and maybe you're going the freelance route, be very wary of people taking advantage of, you know, your time, and just like what they're gonna do with the work. And there's a lot of
Can you give us like top 3 red flags to watch out for as like a new animator working with clients that could be shady?
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what do you look out for? How do you tell?
Well, if they say like usually it's like they're like, sup bro, like,
Ah,
like there's some like crypto type of dude, like
oh no.
Oh
don't work
no. Okay, yeah.
try not to work with those people ever. They are really bad. Or just like, you know, I'm trying to think because yeah, it's like a lot of times it's like that type of dude, that you're reaching out to, or they're really eager to start.
Like trying to get you to start before you have a contract or a deal worked out or anything.
Exactly. Yeah, what else? I'm having a brain fart. Does this ever happen to
Oh
anyone
my
else?
God.
Well,
Yeah.
I put you on the spot trying to get you to compile a BuzzFeed top
Yeah,
3
yeah, yeah.
Like
list.
for payment, for example, do you have any ways that you like to go about it? Like, do you have any kind of like maybe like 50 upfront, 50 on delivery?
Yeah, yeah, that's been honestly like I think the change that was like a big shift, because if they're shady and you're saying 50 up front and they were gonna like pull some shit later, then they're not gonna pay you 50 up
Mm-hmm.
front. And a lot of the times it's like dealing with like certain, companies and their payment like systems and stuff takes forever at the end. If you didn't get paid up front, then you're waiting like net 30 or more because they're putting you into the payment system. But if you're able to start half up front, then it's a miracle how quickly that you get put into the same system that would have taken you like maybe 60 days at times. So that's been a big help.
Right.
And then also it's a great buffer for when you really are trying to bring friends on. It's like, I don't want to delay payment for people that have worked so hard for me, that I'm able to pay them right away instead of just like, like, oh, like it's coming. Because then that sucks, because then you have friends that you really like to work with and they start to think that you're shady because it's taking forever to get paid. Yeah. And then, because then there are certain things where it's like really hard to gauge like whether the client's going to be good or not. So it's like also who referred you the work, are you able to like trust that person that referred you, that makes a big difference. But yeah, I don't know. I can't really think right now off top what are some red flags that I should look out for. I guess.
I mean, I think you gave a few.
Yeah.
You can cut it into a top 3.
Yeah. Those are great tips.
These are my tips, but definitely helps to work with someone that does like helps with the communication with the client, because it is hard to be director working with animators and having to go back and forth with the client at the same time.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Because it's like, as an artist, it's like I have a hard time like when they ask like budget, I'm like, I don't know, like, and then I lowball myself. But if you have someone else doing the negotiation, it does help a little bit.
I feel like, okay, so by now you've done that a bunch. Do you have a some kind of a document or a spreadsheet somewhere, or some like a way that you kind of evaluate the pricing for a okay, let's pretend I'm a client. Let's pretend I'm coming to you and I'm like, can you do?
You're like, sup,
yeah,
dude.
sup, bro.
No.
Yeah.
I want to get a music video for like 3 minutes, like it's like a 3-minute song, and
it's like $200.
And I have like,
Yeah.
4 weeks. Like, what would you say?
Well, I mean, if they said they have $200,
No,
I'd say like,
no. Yeah, maybe they don't mention a budget.
Yeah,
maybe they don't mention how much they have.
Yeah.
How do you talk about it?
Well, yeah, you just try to. I mean, you always have to educate, obviously, your client that doesn't work in animation. So you do have to break down the whole process from like, like in order to work on this, like, and it's from complete scratch. It's like this requires, character design, storyboarding, animating, background editing, like, etc. So you really try to tell them that like it's this much, and then how many people you have, and then you try to break down like what you think that like the amount of time that's going to take to get to the deadline, and the amount of people, and making sure that people get paid fairly. So if it's like a 3-minute animated video, yeah, you usually try to ask for like between like 15 to 20,000, because you're going to have like people working on it for a good amount of time, and try to pay yourself some, because a lot of the time it's like I'm just getting as little as
Yeah.
I'm not giving out to other people. So
yeah, do you have like a per minute of animated thing rate, or do you like? I feel like hourly gets so dicey
it doesn't,
you're keeping
because
track of your hours.
But then it's also like, you're like, did you work on it that long? Like, as well.
Yeah, no, I feel like it's hard to keep track of the hourly thing, because there's sometimes where like thinking about what you have to do
is time.
It counts as time and work, but like it's hard to quantify that if you're like sitting at your desk for an hour thinking about it, and then you're like, well, did I have any work? Like, it's such an easy way to like second guess and undersell yourself.
I've never done an hourly rate.
Sometimes I'm hesitant for hour. Yeah,
I usually try to break it down by the amount of shots. So like I try to do shot by shot, where it's like,
okay.
Oh, just because I'm working with other people, because then it's like, okay, like now I try to think like, okay, these are the shots that I really want animated well. And since I have so much on a plate to be doing, that I'm going to get this person on it that will do this perfect and better than I could ever do it, and try to break down it in that rate. And then I'll just animate the rest. Because a lot of times it's like I am animating like a larger chunk of it, but I do love to get in like some heat to come in and just do the best on certain shots that really I think need it. And then just paying the like, you know, like if I'm not the only one boarding on it, then you know that's like one of the most important parts of the whole project is the board artist. So try to get Evan, you know, and pay Evan what he deserves. So
You heard it. You heard it here on Creative Block that the most important artist on the pipeline is the board artist. I'm joking.
well,
You're stroking our egos here right now.
well,
You're like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
No.
Being I,
wait,
yeah.
I didn't get this. I had a pause between just kidding. No, but it is because it's like that's like obviously like the whole skeleton of the project, and then you know they're going off of what the boards are. So I don't know. Everyone's just equally as important. I don't think like, but I think that boarding is crucial.
We're just playing.
Cut that out.
Cut that out.
Editor, edit that part out. The whole chunk, edit it
Clements override. We're not listening to Jayme. We're leaving that very
No,
much
it's just
in.
funny. It's just funny to oh, we're all joking, obviously. Everybody like listening to the podcast. We're joking. Like, I mean, obviously everybody's like really important. It's just kind of funny to you know how I am. You know I like to get on my soapbox and then
Guys, you know, just to let you guys know, I wasn't joking. Storyboard artists are most important part. I'm so important.
All right, from Patreon, Clink is asking, how has your directorial work influenced your other positions, such as that of an animator or character designer? Has it ever made you reconsider or change your approach to the way you execute tasks related to those?
Yeah, I think it's super important because when you're doing other I think when you're doing like a bunch of roles, you really start to understand what you're asking of people. So if I feel like, you know, certain shots are too much, then I'm gonna try to simplify it in the boarding process. Or what was the whole question?
Oh yeah, well basically I think it's kind of the way that you answered it, just kind of like how has directing influenced the way that you like animate or design characters or these other roles, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just like when you've done it, you start to learn like what is the things that don't work, and just keeping things simple is the best way to have a cohesiveness between a collaboration of multiple artists. So I think just keeping things as like simple as you can is the best way to kind of have the best end result in a project versus maybe being too stylistic and then bringing in people that haven't worked, because also just the pace of commercial work tends to be very like just you hit the ground running, so you don't really have the time to practice these new characters and stuff. So the simpler it is, the easier it is to get something that feels more uniform throughout all the different artists' hands. I think it's the key.
I've always wondered, because your work is like because you draw each frame and you draw all these like different angles and everything. Do you ever do like model sheets, or are you just kind of like, oh, this is kind of what he looks like, try to hit something kind of sort of like that?
Yeah, kind of. I'm just like also because I don't know, like, do you guys ever feel like this when working with other people? It's like I already feel bad that I'm asking people to do something with me that I'm just like, yeah, just go for it.
Honestly, that's kind of how I am too. It's kind of like for example, for the smalls, we did say, okay, these are the important things to make sure that that looks like the character, but like the other stuff, it's fine. You know.
Yeah, and then sometimes they do things where I'm like, damn, that's so much better than I would have ever even thought of doing it. Thanks. Like,
yeah.
That's awesome.
but if you maybe were so tight on them, then maybe they would have toned back, you know? So a lot of times it's like I try to just go like, yeah, just go for it. If you're stoked to work on it, then do it that way. Don't tone it back for me.
We have some questions from YouTube. We kind of like glossed over that, but not the second part of the question. So Digay asks, what did you study to get into animation? Did you get a degree or did you take classes from when you were little?
I went to Evan and Sean University to ask stupid questions like, why isn't this playing? Or why does this feel wrong? And then just little by little figured out things on my own from that.
And if you guys sign up for Sean University, you can learn how to do the most important role in animation, storyboarding, taught by.
Oh yeah, are you still doing that class? Are you still doing
No, I'm
like you
just
were
kidding.
mentoring for a bit?
Oh, I still do the mentor, the mentoring thing. If anybody wants to hit me up, let me know you heard about this through Creative Block, and I'll give you a discount.
And I guess Evan University now is SVA, huh?
Yeah, now you have to go to SVA. But
dude, Evan University paused one
but a lot of but most honestly, I'm still never not learning because every project I do, I learn something very new that I didn't know how to do before. And just studying everyone's work, like I really like animation resources because they send those reference packs out, and I don't know, like they also introduce me to a lot of cool stuff and go like nerd out on topics that I'm really interested in. But
nerd out with your turd out.
Yeah. And then just like I read a lot of animation books and try to like pick up stuff, but some stuff sticks and other things just go with the flow. So I'm just trying to I don't know, and I just just learn it as I go. Like I figure things out and then I'm like, okay, that's I guess a good way to do it. Or watching someone else do it next to me when I'm working on
honestly
something.
I think like from for people listening and for people who are I feel like people who are self-taught can usually do that a lot, like do the project and they and learn on the project. I think that's Louison kind of mentions that in his episode, and I think Winton didn't go to art school and he mentions that a little bit in his episode. So I really like hearing that that's also just kind of like what you were doing. You're like, okay, I want to do a thing and I'll just figure it out while I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I also think that people that learned on the job are more likely to let other people learn on the job that they hire later because they've been there.
Yeah. And
sorry, what were we gonna say?
Well, no, I just like also kind of just thinking back on like just skateboarding pretty much is like the same approach I have with this, where it's like I don't know how to do something, but I also feel like whatever, I'll give it a shot, and then you fail, and then until you get it. So it's okay to not know how to do something.
Except for an animation, you're not gonna like break your arm.
Yeah. Well, you could. I mean, maybe like, I hit the
You're
like
right,
if I'm
you're
not
right.
using my elbow and I have a small cintiq, I might hurt my wrist.
Yeah, if no one teaches you good wrist form.
Yeah.
If you don't learn that at Sean University and then you get carpal tunnel.
Honestly though, I will say this is like a little tangent. I don't know if I've said the story on the pod yet, but I feel like going to art school, probably the best thing I learned was how to keep my back straight when drawing, like a good position. And I've never had any arm or like back injury from drawing,
V always looks really fancy when they draw.
I hope so.
Dude, Lucas is like sits like a freaking like
oh yeah,
like just
Smeagol?
it's like perfectly still. It's crazy.
Oh, okay. Wait, like
he has
posture?
like the best posture. Yeah, it's like perfect posture. I'm like, like. Also, I feel like I don't have the best eyesight, and if I'm like really into like something, I'm like at my like nose is on the screen looking at it.
Posture max.
Yeah. So at Kills Tales is Real asks, could you please explain your experience on pencil tests or definitions of revisions in the industry? I've been interested since the Pencils versus Pixels documentary. So for me, I haven't seen the Pencils versus Pixels documentary, so I'm not exactly quite sure what they're referring to. But I will say a pencil test, from my experience, and that's what we were doing in Gobelin in school, and I've never done it professionally after that. Like that, the only time I've ever done a pencil test was in school.
Me neither.
You just draw on sheets of paper, you animate on sheets of paper, and you learn how to flip the paper so that like you can see the animation kind of like taking form in front of your eyes.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of
you're testing out how long to like stay on certain pages to get the timing right, and that kind of stuff. But I think that for like, while I think that it can be useful to use pencil tests to like test out what you're doing at the beginning, I would revisions end up feeling very different. I think, where you have like usually even like finished animation, and you have to go in and they might say like, hey, we forgot to like add a tie on this guy, or hey, the acting isn't intense enough here, or hey, we are too off model, so we'll need to have a revisionist. That's actually, revisionist jobs are sometimes the only jobs at a studio that the animators actually work, because a lot of animation is done overseas, but sometimes for revisions it's hard to communicate exactly what's wrong with the shot. So they'll have a few revisionists on a show that go into the animation, and they try to correct it as best they can. I hope that answers the question. I'm not sure if there's a very specific context with that documentary that
we'll have to watch the documentary with all the patrons on Discord. That would be fun.
Well, pen and pixel or something.
Pencils versus pixels. Pencils.
Who do you choose?
Yeah.
Who do you choose, huh?
Dude.
Who do you choose? I probably choose pixel, but
for animation 100% pixels. But I would say though that for comics, I would love to do pencils because I love working traditionally. It's the best. However, it's just slower. There's just no.
Yeah. I've been working on my iPad a lot, painting on Procreate, like outside. That's been fun.
That's awesome. I feel like I'm so jealous of everybody who can like draw and Procreate. Every time I try to draw on the iPad, I'm like, I don't like this. Like, it's not easy for me for somehow.
You're spoiled because you like having that big old screen. You like having that huge,
I think it's not even that
screen
it's huge. I think it's just like I like having it propped up, and the iPad is laying flat on the desk, and I'm like,
Yeah, but I just use it like because I don't want to bring a bunch of paint out with me, or I just I like to just doodle outside on the iPad. But I've been going out and like drawing like from life, which is fun.
Well, to tie in what that person asked to something that Jayme can respond to, when you're working with a team, what would you say is the most common thing that you ask for revisions on? Is it like lip sync maybe, or what would you say if you are like giving revisions that you'd like an animator to do? What is it usually?
If I'm being completely honest here, I really hate having to ask my friends like to fix things, so I just kind of try to work around what they give me.
That's awesome.
But if I do like, if they actually like are not doing it right, then I'll just tell them to adjust it, or I'll correct it myself at times, because also just like the time crunch, maybe it's like, oh, I don't want to wait like for you to fix it when I can just clearly just adjust a few little things that'll bring it back.
Dude, I gotta work on some projects with you. I get, everyone gives so many notes. That sounds like a dream.
Really? You get a lot of notes?
Dude, people love giving notes. Most clients feel like they aren't doing their job unless they're giving notes. So even if they don't have anything that they want to add, they want to feel like they have something to add.
Oh, I know. I get notes like that all the time on projects from other people. So I guess that's why I'm like, the last thing I want to be doing is giving people notes, because also a lot of times it's like I'll be working on my computer and just kind of like maybe drawing alongside a friend, and notes get kind of corrected as they're going, like, oh, like, what do you think of this? Yeah, that looks good. Or like, maybe just fix this thing, like they're very light notes. I don't try to give too many things, because also like the people that I'm bringing on are like better than me. So I feel like, why the hell would I be telling you how to do the thing that I'm bringing you in to be doing for me? Like,
that's such a funny imposter syndrome to be like, you have boss imposter syndrome, that you don't want to give notes to people because you're like, oh, you're better than me at this.
That's how I feel.
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny, yeah.
Like, very rarely do I give notes because I don't want to like deal. Like, artists are very temperamental too. Like, I can maybe feel like they'll get mad at me or something, so I don't want to ask for notes. I'll be like, oh, it's great, and then I'll fix it after.
I feel that though. I do feel
Yeah,
that I, as
that's
a director,
why.
I often do that. Like, especially for time reasons. It's like, you know, especially if it's a little thing, you're like, oh, the expression's not quite right. Or like, you know, like, and you're like,
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like,
yeah,
just get on the next shot. Yeah, get on the next shot and I'll tweak it.
exactly.
I try to play off that every time a client starts giving me a note. They're like, "Hey, Sean." So in this shot, I usually go like, and then they'll get scared that I'm gonna get mad, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you know what?
Huffing
Never
and
mind. I think it's
puffing, like,
fine."
You're just like grunting in the back.
Yeah, it's
like,
just me grunting.
Yeah. So you went to Go Blonde?
I did. I graduated in 2011.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's such a cool school.
It's crazy because I feel like I don't know. I don't know. I feel like for anybody who's listened to the previous pod that we've recorded with Adam Dix, when I went to Gobelin, I was just kind of like at first like, oh my god, I suck. Everybody's like so much better than me. Like,
I'm the runt of the litter. Oh,
yeah,
look at me, I'm
yeah.
Fee. Everyone's so much better than me at Go Blonde.
But then I realized on the episode that we did with Adam, I was like, oh, maybe that's actually you know, like maybe that was a boon. Actually, it was a blessing that I had so much to learn from everybody. You know, like instead of being the best one.
Yeah.
But like literally whenever an animator follows me on Instagram, I'm like, are they high right now? Like, why are they following me? Like,
Oh my God. We have a question from Instagram. Cray.inc is asking, what are your inspirations, or have your inspirations ever changed? And how has that informed what you do?
of course, yeah, inspirations always change because I'm always looking for another artist to like obsess over at a time. So, but I don't think I ever really like adapt an inspiration into my work. It's just more like, whoa, they're so good. Like, and then I'm just doing what I'm capable of doing on my own. But yeah, I don't know. Like, there's like obviously like the National Film Board of Canada has like very inspire like has inspired me because of how like simple their animations, but like how much life they put into their work that I've applied that to my process where I'm like, okay, like that drawing's really weird and cool, and they really make it feel like it's alive. So that's where I guess I've been inspired, but I don't know. I'm just winging it. So
I love that. Do you experience creative block ever? And if you do, how does it feel like?
yeah, I took a year off.
Yes.
Yeah, I had to.
Yeah, what do you do? You work other jobs? You work
Yep,
you don't think about animation for a while?
exactly. I don't think I really even said that I'm an animator last year very often.
Oh yeah, you were like,
I was
nobody give
just,
me a job in animation.
well, I just wasn't even like looking at the at some point. I just was like, with the start of like my downfall out of animation that year was like me just sitting under my desk, like not able to work on anything, and then kind of wanting to take projects on for friends and then not being able to fulfill it, and then kind of feeling like failure, and then just like, okay, I think that I need to step away from it for some time.
So you were turning down projects during that
Yeah,
time.
I turned down a lot of stuff because I just didn't even feel like I was like in the right headspace to take on a project because I had just personal work to work through that would interfere with my credibility as a professional.
Yeah.
And you don't want to have people depending on you and you not being able to fulfill it. So it's a lot easier to just step away. And then I just wanted to doodle for like a while and kind of figure out what it is that I want to be making, because commercial work can get pretty exhausting because the turnarounds, and then just also like it tends to strip away at what you wanted to make for it, and then at the end result isn't anything that you're necessarily like the most proud of, even though you finish something, because it's an advertisement. And a lot of animation work outside of like shows is just commercials for brands, and that's not the coolest thing, like that you made a product commercial.
Did you have any takeaways coming out of that like once you decided to try to get back into drawing or doing art for a living again or whatever? Like, do you have like any changed perspective, or was it just nice to get a break?
Yeah, I mean, it did help like push some discipline back into like having an actual appreciation for having the opportunity that I get to just animate for a job. So you really
Yeah.
start that kind of kicks back in after, carrying dirt up a staircase for weeks. You're like, oh, you know what? I wouldn't mind sitting down and animating. Like it could be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
So just I think I had to kind of step away to like it again because you do get a little bit used to the fact that you're animating as a job, and it is a privilege, like, and it is a great thing to be able to do for a living because you're making art and creating something, but you do take it for granted when you just do it all the time.
That's so true. That's so true. That's so
Yeah.
nice to hear, like to hear you say it, especially after like having just experienced it firsthand. I think that is something that definitely we can tend to forget easily when we've been doing that job for a long time.
Yeah. When I was working at the Chinese restaurant, I got my first paycheck and I was like, "Oh my God, I worked that much and I got this little." Like, thank God I get free meals here because I would not be able to like survive off of just doing that.
Oh
So,
my God.
it does also really help kind of take appreciate like, you know, you do get paid pretty well to animate, but yes, you could obviously get more, but
Mhm.
when you are making like minimum wage, then getting back to like your rate that you were getting animating, you kind of do tend to realize like, oh, you do make more doing a professional job than like a minimum wage one.
Mhm.
But you know, like if there isn't any work, and it was pretty hard during the writer's strike, like it did affect all facets of animation all over because just wasn't much work to go around, so everyone was kind of in that struggle, and
Mhm.
I just didn't want to like keep feeling defeat because I was applying a lot to like shows and trying to get into like
Mhm.
a job before the strike happened, and just rejection can pretty affect your mental state when you get told no or you don't hear back a
Mhm.
lot. You kind of just start to question like, okay, do I even like am I good at what I do? And then you just doubt it, and then you kind of start to believe that you aren't good.
Well, you were like in the middle of trying to transition into like you kind of carved out your own lane, and then anytime you switch lanes like that, it's almost like you're starting over because like you're starting over meeting new contacts from those jobs, you're
Yeah,
starting over building that skill set for working on a show, you're not drawing in your style anymore, so you have to adapt to a different style. And so you tried to switch lanes in the middle of like a crazy tumultuous time, and you were already feeling like burnt out and fragile. So of
exactly.
course, yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense
Yeah,
why you
and
kind
like
of
sprinkle in a couple of like difficult clients into the mix too, and then just
yeah.
like because nothing hurts more than like working really hard on a project and then client overall isn't like as satisfied as you expected them to be.
Mhm.
It can be hard on your mental because like as an artist you obviously like take so much pride in the thing that you're doing, and you put so much time into it that you really like you're like, this is like, I'm proud of this work, and then to get told like by a client like that they don't like it, it's like, oh my God, like what did I do wrong? But it's not you at times, but
Mhm.
it's could be them, and but yeah,
Yeah.
just like rejection and things like that hurt
Yeah.
as an artist because you're like, you think you're like the shit at times when you do like when you do get in the groove and you're like, oh man, I'm like all these shots I animated were so fucking cool, and like then you turn it in and they're like, what is this? This isn't at all what we wanted. And I've heard that before, and I'm like, oh my God. Like,
Yeah.
fuck.
Well, sometimes it can feel like you're like when they don't like something that you did, that sometimes it can feel like you put parts of yourself on that in that. You know what I
Well,
mean? It
there's
sometimes it can
always
feel
there's
like
always
they don't like parts of you. You know what I mean? It's easy to take it personal.
yeah, because you're always putting yourself into it because every shot that you end up making. It's like you're taking from some experience of something that you've done, unless you're just putting into like observation. So when they don't get it, it's like kind of, how do you separate you from your work? And that's like obviously something that
Yep.
we're always working on, kind of growing out of, or growing with.
Yeah, that's so tough. I think definitely as an artist, the hardest part is that emotional area where you do get rejected a lot. Like no matter the job, that even if you do get the job, then people will tell you, well, that's not what I want. That's not, like, here's all these notes. You have to redo a bunch of them. That's yeah, it sucks to have to redo the work, and it's like, but it is part of the, I do think at the end of the day it's one of these skills that you need to develop as an artist, like that, so that, I don't know, like people skill, I guess, or like that personal skill of being able to, like, listen to to whoever's, like, your boss or whatever, and then be like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's hard because you want to rebel and just do
yeah,
whatever, like especially at times when you feel like, oh, the client doesn't know what they're talking about, and then you go on like a whole like 180 of, I'm just going to do whatever I want to do
mm-hmm.
and hope for the best, and then they see it and they're like not happy. But that doesn't happen very
Yeah,
often
yeah,
in that
yeah.
case. But it has happened, like, I don't know, just working with certain people where it's like from the get-go, maybe you just don't take them as like serious as you should, because they're the ones paying you, and you feel like, oh, I'm the artist, I know exactly what I'm doing, I'm going to do
Mhm.
whatever. Like maybe, like, I've definitely over the years have learned it's like they're paying me, and if they're happy, then I'm going to be happy at the end. So I really have learned to like let somewhat of like an ego go, because
Mhm.
you want to make sure that they're content with the things that you're creating, and not just like you trying to be like, F you, I'm an artist, like I know what I'm doing, and you don't do this, so like you're paying me, and growing over time.
Yeah, so tough. It is so tough. I think that's still something that I'm personally learning as well. Like, you know, like, because at the end of the day, unless you are able to entirely fund your own project yourself by some kind of way, you do have to answer to, like, whoever is, like, in charge. So,
Yeah, but I have been getting like cool projects lately, so
nice. That's so
Hey,
awesome.
that's awesome.
yeah, yeah. Like I got one now that I'm starting, and it's with this artist, and his only note to me was like, I want you to do whatever, but this is just like the outline of what I want to happen. But like however you want it to look and feel, like it's totally dependent on you, which it's like those are the ones that I love to
Oh,
do.
that's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah.
That's the end of our creative block. Jayme, thanks for being our guest and sharing our
Oh yeah,
story.
thank you. I feel very honored to be on the show.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you so much for making the time to come here. And thanks to our
Yeah.
listeners. You can follow us on social media at CRTV Blog, where we ask for drawing prompts and questions to ask our guests. Huge thanks to editor Clemens for editing the podcast, Marco for helping us produce the show, and Ibuka for creating the short clips we've been putting out.
If you love our show, then support us on Patreon. Becoming a patron gets you early access to interviews, access to our Discord community. Click the link in the description of this episode. If you liked it, and if you want to check out Jayme's work, you can see his links down there too. Hit that bell, like that, share. Tell your friends about the podcast. Tell us the most embarrassing part of the podcast for you. Give us the top list of nightmare client first messages that you have that you hate for bad clients. I've been your host, Sean.
And I was VEE. Keep being creative, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Hey!
Bye.